Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio. And now, here's our host, Dr. Vanessa Anceloni.
Dear listener, we are here with you. Happy to be with you in another Kardec Radio program. After all, we are here to nourish your soul. And today, the nourishment is all about mediumship. Many people have asked us, why should we never charge for mediumship? And it's a very controversial topic in the United States and in many other countries around the world. And we're going to discuss this. And to help us discuss with greater clarity, bringing the Spiritist perspective, we have here with us Ricardo Mastroleo. Dr. Mastroleo is an active Spiritist at the Austin Spiritist Movement in Texas. Professionally, he is an adjunct professor in physics in the Austin Community College, and he wrote a beautiful article entitled Paid Mediumship, A Risky Business, which was recently published in the Spiritist magazine, which you can have free access to its digital form, to its PDF, and also you can buy on demand your own pre-now copy of the magazine. Just go to thespiritistmagazine.com and get to know more about the amazing resources we have there for you. Well, not only that, but Kardec Radio also shared good news. Can you believe it that in the most recent past, Kardec Radio received a beautiful, beautiful gift from two of its listeners who remain anonymous for the main public for now, but they know who they are, and we're very grateful. Out of nowhere, they came to us one day when we're visiting a group in Richmond, Virginia, and they brought in 100 Kardec Radio T-shirts that they put together, donated, and they requested that we distribute it to our listeners, which are in more than 61 countries. We're very grateful to them, two kind hearts, who are giving this opportunity to share their love for this message, the Spiritist message, which truly is nourishing many souls. It's a beautiful opportunity for you, dear listener. If you want to get your own T-shirt, many people are writing, but we have 100, so we have a lot. Don't be ashamed and shy, thinking, oh my God, maybe they ran out of... No, we haven't run out of the T-shirts. It's going to take a while, probably, because 100 doesn't go by like that. And we have been sending T-shirts to many people, but we still have more. All you have to do to win a Kardec Radio T-shirt is to send us your questions or comments to Kardec Radio. You can go to our website, kardecradio.com. We have a contact form, and there you can write to us your questions, your comments, and that's it. Of course, do not forget your address so we can mail it to you. Also, you can send an email to kardecradio@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to send you a T-shirt in gratitude for your presence with us at Kardec Radio. Also, we have beautiful events happening around the world. In the English-speaking language, we have special events with Divaldo Franco that are happening this very weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and the rest of the week in England and in Ireland. We would recommend that you go to the website of the British Union of the Spiritist Societies, www.buss.org, and get to know more about the presence of Divaldo Franco, beautiful seminars about spiritual intelligence, about mediumship, right there in the capital of England, London, right tomorrow, the 9th, June the 9th, and on June the 11th, he is going to be in Dublin, Ireland. All you have to do is to go to the British Union of the Spiritist Societies and get to know more about the information for both events. Also in the United States, June 23rd, we have a beautiful event coming up, the Family Spiritist Retreat in Connecticut, And if you want to know more information, just go to the website familyspiritistretreat.org and get to know more information about registration. Beautiful day at the park, learning and enjoying yourself with your family and friends and making new friends for sure. Learning more about the topic of the year, which is family constellation. Family must be the center stage of our lives so we can live and lead a better life and construct a better society. Divaldo Franco will be back in the United States in this July. Yes, we'll be there as well. He's going to be at Leo Mister, Massachusetts, from July 4th to July 7th. If you want more information, just write to us at Kardec Radio, and we will be happy to share the information with you about Divaldo Franco's coming to the United States again. He's going to have a quick stop at Massachusetts, this city in Massachusetts, for a 3-day event in which he's going to speak at least 3 times. So something really not to miss at all. We have lots of more good news for you that we're going to share throughout the program. For now, we'd like to remind you that we here are dedicating the whole program today to understanding paid mediumship. We know, dear listener, this is a very sensitive topic, but something that really needs a lot of our attention. Kardec, in the Spirit's book, he clearly stated, as he asked in question 430, the illuminated spirits answered, God has given mediumship to humankind for a useful and serious purpose. Question: where does self-interest get in this way of usefulness and seriousness? We need to meditate about it. We have several resources for us to think about where self-interest should be in the way of true service, if ever. So to kickstart this program, which will require a lot of reflection, a lot of meditation from all of us, and if you have questions, we are here live. You can send it to us in the chat room of Kardec Radio, or you can send it by email at kardecradio@gmail.com or in our Facebook page, facebook.com/KardecRadio, and we'll be happy to address your questions right now. Of course, if you want to call in, we are here live. It's a free toll number, 1-858-769-4705. We'll be happy to hear from you and to address your question or listen to your comments. Right now, we invite you to set the tone for the program with Emmanuel. There is nobody better than Emmanuel, the mentor of Chico Xavier, to set the tone of the program on paid mediumship, a risky business. It's his prayer of service. You find this beautiful prayer in the CD, Enlightening Messages, or the book, Enlightening Messages, and you can buy it directly at the bookstore of the website of the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, www.ssbaltimore.org. Let us listen to this beautiful prayer of service, and right after the break, we're going to have here with us Dr. Mastroleo, helping us understand more about the ins and outs of paid mediumship.
Prayer of service. Lord, teach us to walk the enlightening path of service. Give us the strength to destroy the heavy fortress of our wrongdoings, the courage to pave the way to freedom from ourselves, and the means to unlock our hearts in favor of our neighbors, surrendering to them at last the treasures of love with which you entrusted us. Wherever we walk, may pain become less hurtful, ignorance less aggressive, hatred less cruel, darkness less dense, lethargy less shadowing, intolerance less destructive. If we do not yet possess the positive qualities to enrich our terrestrial journey, help us to mitigate the injustices that surround us. May we, in your name, distribute fraternity and renewal, and use with happiness the sublime and invisible gifts of silence, comprehension, and renunciation. Lord, who taught us without words the supreme lessons of simplicity in the cradle and of sacrifice in the cross, leading us toward spiritual development and divine resurrection, guide our uncertain walk and help our sanctified propositions, so that your will, merciful and just, be unto us, with us, and for us, today and forever, wherever we may be. So be it.
We will return to our program after these messages.
A new masterpiece has just been released by EDI CEI of America, Memoirs of a Suicide by Yvonne Pereira, a phenomenal book about what happens to suicides in the afterlife. Truly instructive, it brings greater hope that no one really dies or spends eternity in damnation. A true account of the mercy and providence of God. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
Come for the beautiful event sponsored by the British Union of the Spiritist Societies. It is the second British Spiritist Congress on May 11th and 12th at the Quakers Friends House in London, United Kingdom. For more information, please go to www.buss.org.uk.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
Are you seeking a way to tap into more spiritual you? Try meditation. As the Spirit Joanna D'Angelo says, meditation becomes an effective way to discipline the will. In the meditative state, you calm down your emotions and clarify your discernment, harmonizing your feelings. Take a listen to a clip from the CD entitled Health by Divaldo Franco and Joanna D'Angelis.
So say this: I am life, and a triumphant life. Say it again, and once again. Say, I am happiness in life. Repeat it. I am fulfilled, and so I shall remain. Look at yourself. You are irradiating His light. Again, look at yourself. You are irradiating His light. Breathe it. Hold it. Breathe out. Say to yourself, nothing of a disturbing nature deserves my attention.
If you want to listen to more, You can purchase your own copy online at www.ssbaltimore.org/bookstore.
And now we return to our program.
Dear listener, we know we can feel the heat of the discussion here, and it's a most important one. We really need to open to the general awareness whether or not we shall accept payment for mediumship. Spiritism has a very, very good framework to explain why and why not. And as we mentioned before, Allan Kardec, when asking the illuminated minds of the beyond about such question, 430 of the Spirit's book, the answer was quite clear. God has given mediumship to humankind for useful and serious purpose. So would self-interest in any way and level be excusable in this beautiful mission of mediumship, as it is useful and serious in its purpose? Questions such as this and much, much more we'll be discussing here with the help of a friend, Ricardo Mastroleo. He is here with us directly from Austin, Texas. He is an active member of the Spiritist movement there, and he professionally is a professor in physics in the Austin Community College, and he's here with us at Kardec Radio also because he wrote this beautiful article published recently in the Spiritist magazine entitled Paid Mediumship. By the way, if you want to read the whole article, it's free of charge. The Spiritist magazine is open for all, and you just go to thespiritistmagazine.com, and there you find the PDF of the latest issues. You also find the digital format for you to read from your phone, from your tablet, from your computer. And if you want your printout form, all you have to do is click a button and go directly to our partner, HP MagCloud, and order your own printout copy of the Spiritist magazine. Thank you so much, Ricardo, for being with us today at Kardec Radio.
Oh, thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be here.
Ricardo, it's such an important topic, but before we discuss the topic, we'd like to know more about you. We were discussing before we were on air about how you were bringing people to this Spiritist awareness little by little in the community in Austin, Texas. Can you share with our listener, please?
Sure. We started over 10 years ago a study group. It was open to the public, and basically we read the work of Kardec and Chico Xavier. And because it was open, we always had the presence of people who were not involved with Spiritism, and they just went there because they want to know what it was. And one thing that I found interesting is that these people were not only interested in learning what Spiritism is all about, but they also came with a background of information of their own. They study other things. They were members of other groups. And it always fascinated me because I felt like I'd like to learn from them as well, what they know, what they do, and so on. This group remained active for many years, and then I thought of exploring more this concept and create a meetup. Group just to discuss topics about spirituality in general, not necessarily about spiritism, but spirituality. And the idea was to invite everybody to come and share their experiences. And every month is a different topic, and within the topic we discuss different views, different perspectives of the topic, and we try to do this in a very, very friendly and conducive to learning way. So there's no right or wrong. I mean, we just try to learn from each other. And one thing that I always try to, of course, since Spiritism is the bulk of my background, so I always, during these discussions, I show what the Spiritism perspective on that topic is.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes with paid mediumship, I noticed that I was not giving the right message, because I had problems trying to convey the idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after several attempts and trials and errors, then I finally was able to find what's a way that this message can be conveyed more effectively.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense to us. That's a similar strategy at Kardec Radio, and I think it's certainly the way to go. We really need to talk to each other based on our commonalities, common grounds, and then go from there. So it makes very much sense to us. But when we talk about mediumship, Ricardo, especially in the United States, it's such a sensitive topic. It's so controversial. And let us discuss a little bit around the world, the current status of mediumship, because we know mediumship has been with humanity since ancient times. We go to the shamans in the most primitive times, and there they are, the mediums communicating between two worlds. And if you go to ancient Greece, ancient Rome, we're going to find the oracles, the pythons, etc. When we come closer and closer to current times, we're going to find that the state of mediumship nowadays has changed in some ways, but it's still in many ways very similar to the times when we were in more primitive gatherings, in which we found somebody who was privileged, they had the gift, and for such gift, they had a special position in society, they were given special treats, etc. So what do you think about the current status of mediumship nowadays in the world?
Well, we see that as we evolve as a humankind, we are becoming more and more attuned to our spiritual nature. And we can see in the media, for instance, more and more people are talking about things like near-death experiences or past life therapy, and even books written by mediums through the dictation of spirits, not necessarily related to Spiritism.
Mm-hmm.
So we see that this awareness of our spiritual nature and it is increasing, and as people more and more put themselves in a listening mode, the natural attributes of mediumship that all of us have starts to show up, and you see more and more, even in scientific research and academic research studying mediumship these days, you see more people tapping into it. But it still, I think it lacks a good foundation, theoretical foundation about how we can go ahead and engage in mediumistic activities, right?
Exactly, especially when we talk in the United States, as you said, more and more people are bringing it to the mainstream. So it's leaving the realm of the initiated. It's more and more people are taking courses on mediumship, whether or not they are in the spiritist framework or not. But in the United States alone, we can tell that the topic has become very mainstream in many ways, due to the programs, the movies, etc. But when we talk about a specific framework, many people nowadays, Ricardo, give excuses why they charge. And here we are not pointing fingers or blaming anyone or judging anyone. We're just bringing to light, to our awareness, the reasons why we're doing such things. So let us discuss a little bit some of the reasons people charge for mediumship?
Well, I think the idea of charging for mediumship is absolutely compatible with the idea of charging for any talent and skills that you have or acquired. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the basis of the economic model in this country. So this is something that is encouraged since you are in the early ages to sell lemonade in your front yard, or and to applaud any initiative of transforming something in a business. So the whole economic system is pointing and is leading people to do that. So if you are a good singer, yeah, well, let's see if you can become a professional singer, make money out of this.
Mm-hmm.
So this idea naturally applies to mediumship. Oh, if you're a good medium, well, let's have a business out of that. So I see this as a natural consequence of the economic environment in which people grow up here. Now, what we need to be careful is that mediumship is not quite the same kind of deal as it is to be singing, or to be a doctor, or to be a lawyer.
Why not, Ricardo?
Because we need to understand what a good medium is, and that's the main difference. I mean, a good doctor is a person who studied medicine and specialized in a certain area, and will solve problems based on his or her knowledge. Right? A good medium is defined in two ways. One is how good interpreter, how easily this medium can translate and can be used by spirits to convey their lessons and their messages. That's one thing. And another thing that's very important is what spiritual environment the medium lives, because that environment is going to determine the level of the spirits who will communicate. Mm-hmm. And this is something that this aspect is not present in lawyers or doctors, because basically any profession like that relies only on the knowledge and experience of the professional.
And plus,
when you talk about a medium,
it depends on the spirit as well. So how can you charge for something that it doesn't depend solely on you? It depends on the spirits, right? And especially when you talk about a range of people say, oh, the better the medium, then the more they charge. And I mean, in what precept would you charge more if the message does not depend on you? Basically depends on the higher spirits, because there's no mediumship without spirits. So
that's right.
Right? So, but there is another argument that sometimes people say, and before going there, I want to read Bernadette Leal's comment here, which is another argument that somebody told her, well, God wants you to be happy and prosperous, therefore there's nothing wrong to charge, because this is a way of bringing prosperity in your life. What do you think about that, Ricardo?
I think with mediumship is a dangerous thing to do, and that's I believe that prosperity is important, but you cannot. You have to have a profession to achieve this prosperity, and mediumship cannot be considered as a profession, because it's an activity that requires the level of the work that a medium does depend exclusively on the level of the spirits who will use the medium as the instrument. And how and that's the whole point, because when you think in terms of a business, let's analyze two different aspects. The business aspect of it. The business aspect of it requires is a totally self-centered activity. Okay, it has to be profitable. You have to compete, so you have to be better than others. You have to market that you are better than others. So you have to protect your knowledge. You don't want to share your knowledge with others because your competitors might use your knowledge and beat the competition. And so it's all about you. It's all about the business person, right? Now, when it comes to mediumship, you go exactly the other extreme of the spectrum. You go to this is a situation where it's all about the other. It's not about yourself. It's all about the other. You have to be in a spiritual and a mental mode where you have to genuinely be interested in the well-being of the person you're serving. And why? Because when you are in this mode, you become it's easier for benefactor spirits to use you as an instrument. When you are in a self-centered mode, like in the business mode, it becomes hard to the spirits to use you as the instrument because the vibrational pattern is so incompatible with the vibrational pattern of the high evolved spirits to perform the work that it becomes a serious impediment actually for
so Ricardo, what you're saying here is that mediumship requires the understanding of its spiritual laws. And we have just received here at Cardiac Radio that somebody believes that mediumship is an exchange of energy resulting from a gift, just as many other service. An artist receives money for using his talents, and that's considered okay. I'm sorry for the person who is saying this, but that's not valid because rationally speaking, mediumship is not a simple exchange of energy. It's not a gift. It's actually a duty to serve, as Mastroleo is recommending to us, and it requires understanding of the spiritual laws we're playing with. So according to what Ricardo is reminding us, there are laws that are ruling this mediumistic state. If we don't observe those laws, it's just like gravity. You may run against the abyss and you're going to fall. There is no way you're going to fly because human beings don't fly. So the same happens for mediumship. We need to understand the point in which there are laws ruling mediumship, and there is no way we can accept money whatsoever because the higher spirits are not going to be present if we are self-interested, even if it's to pay our own bill. It's not how the way it goes. And Ricardo, another excuse people often give is like, I charge because I'm spending my time. It's my time, so I have to charge for the use of time. Benjamin Franklin created that mentality in the United States in which time is money, and some people use that precept to justify the fact that they are using their mediumship. They are charging for mediumship because they are spending their time. How can we address this kind of excuse and statement?
Well, I think the whole thing is can be discussed at a practical level. Mm-hmm. Like if you give a broken violin with missing strings, with cracks in its body, and you give to a very skilled violinist, the violinist will not be able to play it. Maybe will play some, but will not be able to achieve the level of quality that he would if the violin was in good condition. And when you have a medium that is engaged in this activity based on self-centeredness, the medium is putting him or herself in a mental and spiritual state that it becomes very hard for evolved spirits to use the medium as an instrument. And I think that's the point that needs to be conveyed here. Is not much in terms of the ethics of charging or not charging. I think the point is there is a practical reason why you don't want to have a medium engaged in mediumistic activity driven by self-interest. In fact, self-interest is not only through payment. I mean,
and Ricardo, there is also the fact that who charges us for the time we're giving? Question. How are we ever going to charge somebody for the time that is given to us for free? We're granted endless time in our lives. How can I ever tell somebody, we're sorry for Benjamin Franklin, he was a genius, no wonder now he's working in the spiritual realm, correcting many mistakes that he created with this capitalist mindset, especially when it's going to be confused with such spiritual things. It was not his intent. But right now we see the byproduct of such statement, time is money, because what we get confused is that our time is free of charge for us. Why we're going to impose this charge on somebody else? So there is no reason for doing such thing. But there is also another thing that people say, that they usually charge for the thing for mediumship. They charge because they don't know what else to do in life. They're like, this is my gift, this is my talent. I don't know what else to do. I've heard many people saying that. And they say, Vanessa, I don't know where else to find a job. So I think that's the only thing that I am, to do, to charge for my mediumship and survive based on this.
Yeah. And this is a problem, because then you start to get involved with an activity that where you be not in the correct spiritual and mental state to perform. And this is that's why I think the spiritist model is makes much more sense, because you don't charge for it. Well, one argument that I sometimes I hear is that, but it's such a good medium, would be a waste for the community to have this person with such a gifted mediumship not to be doing this all the time. Well, this is something that can be fixed if instead of having one doing all the time, what about having a group of mediums who can work in their spare time all the time as well? I mean, if you add up the little time that everybody is volunteering, you still can have a good service in terms of time for everybody. You see, the whole thing is about being in the right state of mind and
yes,
spirit to perform the job.
We're gonna talk about it after the break, about how Spiritism frames the use of mediumship. The Spiritist framework is certainly very unique. And before we go there, Ricardo, we would like to address a few comments here, and thanks to Kardec Radio listeners, like Carla Smith. She sends a message on our Facebook page at Kardec Radio saying most mediums in the U.S. don't know Spiritism. They actually practice mediumship without knowing how it works, why, and the most important, why it is dangerous. They don't know they can be used. As Spiritists, we know how important mediumship is and how much we can help people through it. As Spiritists, we cannot charge at all, but it is hard to tell a person who is not a Spiritist not to charge, unless this person is educated by us about Spiritist mediumship. Thank you so much, Carla, for sending this comment at Kardec Radio. We'd like to address this by saying the following. We can never forget that the universal laws of life are for all. Spiritism is not the only place where we're going to find the awareness where you shouldn't charge for the things that are given for you for free. This, as Kardec states in the Gospel according to Spiritism, we are just bringing about universal ideas. And if you talk to many people, we know mediums who are not Spiritists and don't charge because they know. If you read the books 2,000 years ago, by Emmanuel through the medium Chico Xavier, and 50 years later, we're going to find that in ancient Rome, it was very common, like nowadays, to visit psychics and to pay for their services, and they would really ambitiously receive the treats and the payments, but they knew they were incurring a big mistake. And this is our consciousness. It's beyond just a book. We don't need to read a book to actually know the truth because the truth is within us. So it's very important that we don't give excuses to ourselves because universal law is universal. But we need also to make a statement here. We are not judging people who are doing this. We're just bringing awareness on the reasons why we shall not charge for mediumship. As Mentor Joseph said to us, we need to share this awareness with all publicly and take the consequences. We know that we are here talking about people's interest because they live by charging. And we talk about not only mediumship, but people who talk a lot about spirituality around the United States, around the world, and they charge huge sums of money where they're talking solely and simply about spirituality. And the thing for us here is like you either walk your talk or you don't talk. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the need of coherence. As Ricardo was telling us, there are rules that apply to the use of mediumship, and people should know of it. We also have a beautiful discussion here, having several friends at the chat room at Kardec Radio telling about examples. Fabio Markowski is giving us a practical example. Imagine someone having his or her dearest person in the world passing away. After some time, the person who passed away realizes that life goes on and his consciousness is the same as it was the moment before death. After some study, the deceased individual discovers that mediumship is a reality and that it's possible to communicate with a person who is his or her dearest in the world. Now imagine that the person who is living couldn't afford. That's a good point, Marcus. Fabio, it's a good point. What if you can't afford? How is that going to happen? Is a medium better because they charge more? Or how does it work? And as Bernadette Liao is sharing with us, here's a rule of thumb that I use as a medium. If you paid for learning something, like courses, it's okay to charge. But if this is something you learned and received for free, you give it for free. Good point, dear friends. That's why we're here. We're not bringing controversy. We're just raising awareness. We're going to give a short break, so we breathe in and out deeply, blessing the discussion. Soon after the break, we're going to continue talking about the ins and outs, the rules, and the spiritual laws that apply to mediumship.
We will return to our program after these messages.
Come and listen to our CD, Unfolding Our Spiritual Nature, Path of Harmony, by Dr. Raul Teixeira. The CD has questions and answers on euthanasia, suicide, pain relief, past life therapy, prayer and better attunement, law and affinity, the spirit world, raising our thoughts, and much more. You can purchase the CD by visiting SSB Online Bookstore at www.ssbaltimore.org.
Known as one of the most scientific books by Allan Kardec, The Genesis dives deeper into the origins of our planet to the advent of the new generations to come. Purchase your copy today, online or via your ebook reader. Go to www.ediceiofamerica.com today.
Nourish Your Soul with Kardec Radio.
Now in English, the book Action and Reaction by the Spirit Andrea Luiz, psychographed by Chico Xavier. Buy your copy online or via your ebook reader. Go to www.ediceiofamerica.com today.
And now we return to our program.
Dear listener, we're here having a beautiful conversation with Ricardo Mastroleo and friends over the chat room at Kardec Radio, Facebook, etc. about mediumship. As Fabio Markovsky clearly states, no matter if you learn about mediumship, people talk about development, we talk about education. You don't develop, you educate, because you were born with the openness. You don't create openness for mediumship. That's what people don't understand. And he says mediums depend on spirits. Ricardo, there is also another statement before we go into Kardec's teachings about the laws that apply to mediumship. Some people came to us years ago at the Spiritist Society of Baltimore saying, Vanessa, you're a medium, and because you don't allow us to pay for your services, you're creating debt to the people who are coming and served here. And then I was shocked with the statement. I never heard such statement in my life. And I asked, why we're creating debt to you? Well, we're creating that, you're creating that because you're not allowing us to pay for what we received. Ricardo, how can we address this, explaining that we're creating no debt for nobody and the source of information doesn't come directly from us?
Yeah, I mean, the person who is being helped by the spirits, if they feel a sense of gratitude, the best way is to pay forward and share and the experience, or even engage in some activity where this person can help others. I think that's the way to go. You are helped. You feel the sense of gratitude, and you help others as a result.
Mm-hmm. So now, Ricardo, we are going to go into the Spiritist framework, because Kardec Radio is here respectfully to all other philosophies, but we are bringing mostly the Spiritist take on it. And clearly, when we talk about mediumship, we're talking about spiritual laws that rule our lives. None of our lives. If people ask here, there is a friend here entitled, I Believe in Fairies. She says, where are the laws? The laws are in our conscience. They are right there. We're born with them. And basically, we have ingrained, it's here. We're born with this feeling that the right thing to do is not to charge. Many people talk about John of God all the time. And you say, oh, we wish we could be just like John of God. Well, go and see the main thing. They don't charge for what they do. And Chico Xavier, oh, great Chico Xavier. But then people give excuses. For example, the other day somebody came to me and said, oh, Vanessa, because they bought this crystal bed. And people know what I'm talking about. If they've been to John of God, they brought to the United States. It's more than $10,000. And what I've seen them doing is that they tell people, when you lay down this crystal bed, Chico Xavier, Dr. Bezerra de Menezes are going to come and are going to treat you doing the healing. What is the problem there? You're deceiving people when you do this, because you're charging for them to lay down on that bed, and you're guaranteeing them that these spirits are coming. How can you vouch for it? You can't. It doesn't depend on you. Second, not only you're deceiving, but somebody told me, but Vanessa, they paid a lot of money for the crystal bed. I said, that's their problem. If I invest in my business, it's my problem how I'm going to serve. The problem is you're trying to get your money back and survive from it, telling people things and vouching for things that you cannot actually guarantee at all. You cannot tell that the good spirits are here at all. So in this case, we would tell quite clearly that you need to pay close attention to the reasoning. Dear listeners, right now we invite our reasoning into the discussion, okay? When we talk about, for example, Ricardo, paid prayers, let's not even go to mediumship by itself, paid prayers.
Mm-hmm.
How many reverends, priests, etc., people who say they're spiritual, they say, I can pray for your loved ones, but it's like $50. Is that a better prayer, or what would Spiritism tell us in that regard?
Well, it's all about vibration, the vibrational state that you are in, spiritual and mentally, right? And when you do this, anything, thinking primarily on your own benefit, you are automatically lowering the vibrational state, your vibrational state, and as a result, your thoughts, your prayers will be carried by those lower vibrational states, and there'll be no effect whatsoever. And this is the same thing about mediumship. Mediumship requires that the medium find himself or herself in a vibrational state that is compatible with the vibrational state of the spirits with whom they want to communicate. So anytime you engage in an activity, either prayer, healing, mediumship, where you are in a vibrational state that is dominated by self-interest, you are already limiting yourself to the results that you want to accomplish. It's all about how the state that you are in, right? So what determines is your intention. If you have the intention to help others with your prayer, with your healing, or put yourself at disposal of high, evolved spirits to serve as a medium, as an interpreter, as a translator, then you need to be in a compatible state of vibration. So every time we mix together business with spiritual work, we face this incompatibility, because the business requires you to be in a lower state of vibration, because it's all about you. And any spiritual work requires to be in a higher state of vibration, because it's all about the other. So I think that's what makes the distinction very clear.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, if you charge for prayers, this means that you are more interested in your own profit and your own benefit than in genuinely desiring that the person you're praying for is receive the help that
Yes.
that it needs, right?
In the Gospel according to Spiritism, Ricardo, in chapter 26, and we're quoting this also because Kardec is unsurpassed in his rational faith. We want to quote for those who want a reference as well. Chapter 26, items 3 to 4. He quotes from a passage in the New Testament. Guard yourselves against the scribes who walk around in long robes to show themselves, who love to be greeted in public squares and to occupy the best seats in the synagogues and feasts, who under the pretext of long prayers devour widows' houses. This passage, Kardec explains, Jesus also said, do not make anyone pay for your prayers. Do not do like the scribes who under the pretext of long prayers devour widows' houses, which means to seize their wealth. Prayer is an act of charity, an impulse of the heart. To be paid for a prayer addressed to God for someone else is to make oneself a paid intermediary. Prayer in this case is a formula whose length is in proportion to the amount of money it yields. When then one of the two things applies, either God measures or does not measure his blessing by the number of words. If many words are necessary, why say only a few of them or none at all for those who cannot pay? This is lack of charity. If only one is enough, then more are pointless. So why make them pay? It is an abuse of trust. Paid prayers is an abuse of trust, and we will repeat, paid prayers is an abuse of trust. God does not sell the benefits he grants. Why then would someone who is not even the benefits distributor and who cannot guarantee their obtainment demand payment for a request that might not be answered? God cannot make an act of clemency, goodness, or justice that is requested from the divine mercy be dependent on a sum of money. Otherwise, the consequence would be that if the sum were not paid, or if it were insufficient, God's clemency, goodness, and justice would be withheld. Reason, common sense, and logic state that God, the absolute perfection, could not delegate to imperfect individuals the right to put a price on divine justice. God's justice is like the sun. It is for everybody, for the rich and the poor. If the selling of favors by an earthly sovereign is regarded as immoral, is it any more legitimate to sell those of the sovereign of the universe? Paid prayers have another drawback, Kardec says. Those who buy them very often believe that they themselves do not have to pray because they have given their money. We know that spirits are touched by the fervor of the thought of those who have an interest in them. What could be the fervor of someone who arranged for a third party to pray for them by paying for it? What is the fervor of this third party when he or she delegates this task to another, and then one yet to another, and so on and so forth? Does that not reduce the prayer's effectiveness to the value of a particular currency? This is the educator Allan Kardec clarifying things with our reasoning. If God gave us reasoning, we have to use it. We can't simply talk about spirituality and not use reasoning. And this is pure reasoning applied to spirituality. Allan Kardec is telling right off the bat that if we are receiving money for paid prayers, we are being abusive to the trust of others, things we cannot vouch. And second, we are allowing people to stay in their own laziness, not participating for the things that they are supposed to participate. I know there is more to discuss. We're going to go for a short break. When we come back, we have more about the rules that apply to mediumship.
We will return to our program after these messages.
Spiritist Network, your gateway to on-demand Spiritist videos. www.spiritistnetwork.com.
Spread the word. Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
Want to find a good way to explain life after physical death to kids or teenagers? Check out the book Message from a Teen in the Spirit World by the Spirit Neo Lucio and Psychograph by Chico Xavier. In this book, a teenager named Carlos explains his impressions on the new life in the spirit realm with his discarnate relatives and new friends. Purchase your copy online at www.ssbaltimore.org.
The Spiritist Magazine is a trimestral digital periodical that publishes the latest news on the Spiritist thought and the movement in the USA and worldwide. Subscribe now at www.spiritistmagazine.com.
Listen to our sister radio, Bazera Online Web Radio, retransmitting Kardec radio shows 3 times a day. Also beautiful and inspiring programs in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to www.spiritist.com.
The book, A Primer on Being Good by the Spirit May May, psychographed by the medium Chico Xavier, explains in simple language appropriate for children 2 paths in life, the path of good or the path of evil. God has granted us the freedom to choose either one. Purchase your copy online at www.ssbaltimore.org.
Now we return to our program.
Dear listener, we're talking about paid mediumship, a very risky business. So let us go. Ricardo Mastroleo is here helping us understand the ins and outs of it. Ricardo, when we talk about this being a risky business, what are the risks that we take when we accept payment for mediumship?
Not being helped by evolved benefactors. That's the thing, because you go to a place where the medium, if the medium is being driven mostly by self-interest, this means.
And then
that
when you're saying that we are pushing away the good spirit, it means that we are opening doors for the lower spirits.
Exactly. Well, which are more compatible with the vibrational state of the medium, right?
Uh-huh.
And then we are going to be dealing with spirits that might not be giving you the proper orientation, guidance. Right?
And then we go into what we call spirit attachments or obsession, and then we are in deep trouble, right? In this part, Ricardo, for people who are listening to us, Kardec, again, with his sharp reasoning, he brings to us clarification about this without any doubt. Chapter 26, items 7 to 10 of the Gospel According to Spiritism. We're not going to read it all, but so few excerpts. Mediumship is not a privilege and is found everywhere. To receive payment for its practice would thus be to divert it from its providential purpose. So we need to remind that when we talk about payment, we talk about receiving gifts, etc. Mediums should not. If people, sometimes they come to centers, they are joyful, like, oh, I thought about you and then I bought you this thing. We can't accept it. Chico Xavier is the example of it. Chico Xavier received lots of donation. You know what they did? we discovered recently. He gave it to other people. There are millions of people in Brazil who received, free of any charge, donations from Chico Xavier that he was channeling from the donors who were giving thanks to him. He never accepted a single penny, not even food, not even shelter. You can't. It's a test for the mediums. And as Ricardo is very rightfully saying, all those who know the conditions in which good spirits communicate, and their aversion for anything that may have a selfish interest, and who know how little it takes to keep them away, can never believe that high-order spirits are at the disposal of the first person who comes along and evokes them for a price at a mediumistic session. Plain common sense rejects such a thought. I will repeat it. Plain common sense rejects such a thought. You don't need to be a spiritist to have common sense. Would it not also be a profanation to evoke for the price of silver the beings whom we respect or who are dear to us? Undoubtedly, one can obtain manifestations this way, but who could guarantee their authenticity? And as Ricardo just explained, frivolous, deceitful, and cunning spirits and a whole multitude of unscrupulous low-order spirits will always show up and are always ready to respond to any question asked of them with no regard for the truth. Ricardo, I'm going to share with you and the listeners a case of a medium who came to us in Baltimore from another state many years ago and said she charged. And she said, but my clients are complaining because they find my method very weird. And I said, what's your method? I sniff the spirits, the entities come through me and sniff the client around. And then she showed it to me. And I said, look, I would be very afraid too, because it's very strange to me that high spirits would be sniffing around ourselves to help us. So here we are bringing to you how low-order spirits take over when we don't give in to the real service that is behind mediumship practice. Ricardo, when Kardec talks about mediumship not being a profession, and he says it would be morally discredited and immediately compared with fortune telling. So in Spiritism we would say it's a no-no for sure to charge for mediumship, right?
That's correct. And in fact, I heard arguments to see how some people are so the concept of charging is so ingrained on them, is that I heard the opposite arguments. A spirit, a medium who doesn't charge doesn't have credibility, right? Because it's seen more like an amateur instead of a professional. You see, but the truth is that the not charging gives far more credibility, because you know that what happens there is something that is all the result of love and compassion on the part of the medium, and which are the proper conditions for any medium to perform spiritual work.
So, Ricardo, you just talked about the magical words, and that's how we would like to wrap up our conversation on paid mediumship. The conditions. Let us discuss on the conditions for good mediumship exercise. So I'm just going to read a short excerpt from the Medium's book. I would like you to help us break it down and understand. This is item 341 of the Medium's book by Allan Kardec. By the way, if you would like to educate your mediumship, there is no better book than this, The Medium's Book by Allan Kardec. That's why it was written, and that's the reason why you should read it, not to incur in the risky business of it the consequences that will be vibrating for many lives. You know, there are many people nowadays who would like to work on mediumship and they feel blocked. And one of the reasons is because in the past they did, and now they are suffering the consequences. And there are many, many more problems that are happening around the world, around the world regarding that. So Kardec explains that there are a few conditions to good mediumship exercise. First, perfect commonality of ideas and sentiments amongst the members. So he's saying we shouldn't work on mediumship alone. Mutual benevolence amongst the members of the group. Rejection of any sentiment contrary to the Christ-conscious charity. A single desire to learn and improve through good spirits' teachings and taking advantage of their counsels. Avoidance of anything communicating with spirits that is solely for satisfying one's curiosity. Respectful concentration in silence during conversations with spirits. Association of all participants through thought when evoking spirits. Harmony amongst all mediums, rejecting any sentiment of pride, vanity, superiority, while supporting the sole desire to make themselves useful. The bottom line Kardec is bringing to us is that the best condition is that we are at service and we have zero self-interest. Ricardo, how can we actually rule out this possible self-interest when practicing mediumship?
Well, when you perform this work driven only by a genuine interest in helping and serving your brother or sister that came to you to seeking assistance, and remembering that you are just a translator, you're just an interpreter of the work of the spirits that are there to perform the actual work, and as such you need to make sure that you are in a state of heart and a state of mind that allows the evolved spirits to use you as the medium. And in order to put yourself as a medium in that state, you need to follow these conditions that you just read. It's just a matter of service, a matter of love, compassion, and humility. Right? If you have all these elements present in each one of the members of the group, then this will tremendously facilitate the work of the spirits to do their job. And when you don't have, if the mediums don't have these elements present, it becomes very hard for the spirits to do it, and then they prefer not to utilize those mediums to do that. The same way, if you go to if you decide to volunteer for an organization, for instance, and because you feel like you want to pay you want to pay back to the community with your talents and skills. So you enroll to this organization, and then you start finding that the organization doesn't work very well. The volunteer coordinator is not being helpful. Is making your work harder. At a certain point, you get so frustrated, you just leave that organization and search for another one. So it's a very, very, very simple thing that would occur to anybody who is willing to serve, and he can, because the organization doesn't allow. An evolved spirit will act exactly the same way. Evolved spirits are always there to show their love and their wisdom to whoever needs. But if the spirit doesn't encounter the proper instrument to perform it will go in search for another one. So that's why it's so important that mediums to perform mediumship, you have to be in the right state of heart and the right state of mind.
Exactly, which is
when you do this move by self-centeredness, you automatically putting yourself in the wrong state.
Yes, that's correct, and you said it all, Ricardo. You said it all, and it clearly explains to us that there is no compromise. The rule is just one. It's law of life, as you're saying. These are not imposed by anybody, but if we apply this to our lives, we're going to be much better and healthier. Ricardo, we can't thank you enough for bringing to us such a very difficult topic and for writing the article as well that is in the Spiritist magazine. As Mentor Joseph said, there is a time in which things need to be in its place. We have to bring it to the mainstream, and we have to take the consequences. This is not judgment. This is just awareness. And thank you so much, Ricardo, for being with us here at Kardec Radio today.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It was a privilege for me to have this opportunity to share these ideas with you and your listeners.
Thank you, Ricardo. So, dear listener, we know there is so much more. But, the program has so many hours. But we have given you references in the Gospel According to Spiritism, the Spirit's book, the Medium's book. This is the Spiritist framework. And beyond words, we have examples around the world of thousands and thousands of mediums, Spiritist mediums, who work under this beautiful framework and are making miracles happen. And people are like, why? For one reason, my friends, because we are applying the laws. Many people want the same effects, but using different attitude. It's not going to work. So we would recommend read it, study it, and change. It's worth it. Because after all, life is all about action and reaction. We have much more for you right now, and we're going to play a beautiful segment that Marco Magalhães put together about mediumship. Him and his wife, Joyce Magalhães, are going to clarify a little more. Followed by that, we have the beautiful segment by Kirsten de Mello, Law of Destruction, Be Happy by Kirsten. And then, soon after, beautiful excerpt about the laws, the hierarchy of spirits. We're talking about high-order spirits, low-order spirits. You want to know more? John DeRosa and Steve Shepard will tell us more according to items 101 106 in the Spirit's book. And at the very end, explanation on another chapter of the Gospel According to Spiritism by Luis Sergio Marotta. Enjoy, dear listener, because here, Kardec Radio is really bringing nourishment to your soul. The nourishment today is very strong, but it's worthwhile. We're still here live and open to listening to your comments and questions about paid mediumship and much more.
Dear Kardec Radio listener, welcome to our segment Spiritism in Your Life.
Today's topic is mediumship. We can define mediumship for short as the interaction or influence by the spirits in any level. So we can think about this as we are small radio receivers. Through our thoughts, we can actually tune in the station we want. This station could be that of your mentor, your guardian angel, or suffering spirits. That really depends on what is the wavelength and what is the signal that you're projecting through your thought. And this connection is actually what people call mediumship. So the next question is, who are the mediums? Are they special in any way? And in the Medium's book, Allan Kardec brings to us the definition that everyone who's any degree influenced by spirit is, by that very fact, a medium. This faculty is inherent in man and is therefore no exclusive privilege. In other words, mediums are just like you and me. They carry the same responsibilities and weaknesses. They are also fallible. They're not special beings. They're not fortune tellers. They're not oracles or sorcerers. This is just an organic capability that's inherent to all of us. And Allan Kardec also brings to us that these phenomena, occurring in virtue of natural law, are neither marvelous nor supernatural in the ordinary sense of the words. To summarize that idea, mediumship is not a miracle. It is a very complex phenomenon that takes place every day in our lives. And considering that, how can we identify the signs of mediumship in our daily lives? Number 1, intuition and inspiration. How many times we have that idea that seems to be coming from nowhere and suddenly strikes our mind? How many times we feel inspired to do something? Of course, inspiration and intuition can be also for good or bad things, and that really depends on where are we connecting our thoughts. Number 2, we have impression or feeling that something is happening or is around us. This is mostly designed to people that can recognize the presence of spirits, but in a vague impression, a sort of shuddering sensation that runs through the body, but we cannot really identify that precisely. Number 3, during our dreams we have the ability of communicate to spirits a little bit more freely because we are partially freed from our body and we can remember this many times, and this is one of the good examples of mediumistic phenomena. Number 4, now we have presentiment and premonition. Again, how many times we have the presentiment that something is about to happen, or we have a premonition in detail that something's going to happen. Number 5, fascination. And that's also one of the signs of an obsession, is that when you think that your ideas and your thoughts and what you're doing are so perfect, you start to be so connected to your ideas that you start losing the ability to criticize your own acts, and you get fascinated. Number 6, fixed ideas. How many times does fixed ideas come through our mind, either good or bad ones, that we cannot control, and they start to take over our ability to concentrate and focus? Number 7, physical disturbances that happen around us and we cannot explain. And also, finally, any sensorial observations that cannot be explained, including seeing, hearing, or feeling the presence of spirits. Some people do it more extensively, and some people don't. These are some of the basic signs of mediumship in your daily life. Dear listeners, we're coming to the end of our show, and we want to ask you the following question. How does mediumship, under the view and the teachings of Spiritism, can help us? Mediumistic phenomena, since early ages in our history, has opened eyes and opened doors for people to actually understand that there's something else out there, and called the attention of many people that started studying and started to put together many of theories and ideas that we're studying today in Spiritism. So, if used properly, mediumship is an amazing tool and can be used for moral and intellectual development, and also for helping others through healing or through alleviating the suffering of other people. And Spiritism, most importantly, is going to bring us the principles to understand and make the good use of mediumship. Dear listeners, thank you again for being here with us today. And remember that mediumship is an exercise of discipline. God bless us.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to the Spiritist Moment. I am Kirsten DeMello. We are giving our continuation on the study of Part 3 of the Spirit's book, The Law of Destruction, specifically the subcategory that's entitled Destructive Calamities. So we've already learned that there is a purpose in destructive calamities, that God just doesn't allow these calamities in life, these destructions, whether albeit famine or natural disasters. God doesn't allow it to happen just because He's careless or because He's asleep. In the Spirit's book, they instruct us and they inform us that everything has a purpose. And sometimes people ask, in the Spirit's book, they ask in question 738, and we paraphrase, well, couldn't God use other means other than destructive calamities to impel progress forward? And the Spirits say yes, and they're employed every day. the knowledge of good and evil, but we don't take advantage of that, which means what? We know how to do good, we know what is right and what is wrong, but we don't take advantage of that. So instead, what happens? Oftentimes we find ourselves suffering because we don't choose the high road instead. And the spirits go on to tell us that we should have a much more ample perspective of life, that oftentimes we're very fixated on one life and oftentimes the trauma that can occur in one lifetime, when in reality we have multiple lives. And these are not our own words, these are the words of the spirits. We have many lives. What is one life in comparison to 1,000 lives that we live? From that type of perspective, we can draw the conclusion that if we look at a larger perspective, we feel a little bit more comfort and solace and understanding in what's happening to us in our day-to-day lives. For instance, the things that seem like such a huge deal, all of a sudden don't seem like such a huge deal anymore. Even more so, the spirits go on to tell us in question 739, are destructive calamities useful from a physical point of view, notwithstanding the hardships they cause? And the spirits say, and we quote, yes. They sometimes modify the conditions of a region, but the good that results from them is usually only felt by future generations, end quote. So what does that mean? Destructive calamities are actually good, physically speaking. From a physical point of view, they are good. But perhaps in this life, we will not be able to really reap the good results from it. So perhaps my children's children's children will reap the benefits of that. And in question 740, it's quite interesting. Once again, the spirits bring us this different perspective on life, of how God teaches us, utilizing destructive calamities and a lot of outside sources that really pull from within us the inner strength that we need, if we so choose to. For instance, and the spirits bring these examples of destructive calamities, that when big destruction happens or famine happens, what happens? Man, as a society, using his intelligence to develop new ways, new systems, new mechanisms to help propel us forward in advancement with technology. And this is interesting because when we look at those people in society, even 100 years ago, who were the forerunners, who created tons of inventions to make our lives easier, we never seem to equate that with Spiritism. But in fact, it's so much more broader than we could ever imagine, that all of that which happens in our lives, and that God is allowing those things to happen. And we can see it looking back and also being projected to the future. We can see how society is slowly progressing in many different arenas, whether it be in science or in agriculture or in many other different aspects, in medicine, for instance, as well. We know that God allows these things to happen for us to utilize our free will power to create better ways of living. We already learned in previous chapters that God does not condemn us seeking out our own well-being. As long as we are not hurting our neighbor, we are urged to do so, because we not only propel ourselves forward, but we also affect those around us in society, and we create a more progressive and advanced society little by little. So we know that ultimately, life is like that. We find ourselves in circumstances, whether it be destructive calamities or any other form of destruction in our lives. It is all meant to draw from within us these inner capabilities that we have, much like a first-year medical student. When you enter your first year, you're one person, and when you're graduating, it's as if you're a totally different other person if you were to observe yourself. Why? Because the way the system of the schooling is set up is to draw from within you all the good talents that is within you. And God is the same. He creates circumstances so we can work on our moral strength, our willpower, our patience, all of our virtues. But sometimes we fall short. But God is ever so patient with us for us to get back on track. Although we may fall, we always have the opportunity to get back up again. Perhaps for a time, we may be off the track for a while. We may not be doing correct. We may not be aligned. But sooner or later, according to the law of progress, and evolution, we will get there. We are destined for happiness as the spirits have shared with us. So we know that we can work today on our own inner happiness by studying these laws. Come and join us as we continue this study, and we encourage you to study on your own and at your local Spiritist Center. And as always, we wish you many blessings.
Dear friend, this is your friend Luis Sergio one more time, talking to you in the second chapter of the Gospel according to Spiritism. Today we will look at what a discarnate queen says about the spirits and an earthly regality. Yes, in this book, after making comments on the evangelic issues, Kardec adds some passages or some messages that come from spirits communicating through mediums. This one called herself a Queen of France. Let's listen, we quote, "Who better than I to understand the truth of these words of our Lord, my kingdom is not of this world. When on earth I lost myself through pride, who then can understand the total lack of value of the earthly kingdom if not I? What was I able to bring with me of my earthly regality? Nothing, absolutely nothing. And as if to make my lesson more terrible, it did not even accompany me to my tomb. A queen amongst men, I thought to enter heaven as a queen. What a disillusion! What a humiliation when, instead of being received as a sovereign, I saw above me, a long way above me, those whom I had judged insignificant and whom I had despised because they were not of noble blood." Well, in this first paragraph, my friend, it's clear the deception, the frustration this queen had when she arrived there, because she focused all her life on very, very human values, titles, wealth. And when she got there, she was just someone else, a spirit. And she continues, "Oh, how I understand now the bareness of honors and splendor so eagerly courted on earth. In order to win a place in this kingdom, it is necessary to show abnegation, humility, benevolence, and charity in its most celestial form. They do not ask you who you are, nor what position you occupied. Instead, they ask what good you have done, how many tears you have dried. Oh, Jesus, you said that your kingdom was not of this world because it is necessary to suffer in order to reach heaven, and one cannot reach there by means of the steps to a throne. Only the most painful paths lead one to it. Seek your path, then, through briars and thorns, and not amongst the flowers." Well, my friend, let me explain this a little bit to you. You may say, "Come on. Will I have to look for suffering?" That's not exactly the point. The point is, this world, the material world, is a didactic world to teach us how to focus on the spiritual world one day, to be more mature. So every time we need a lot of matter around us to be someone, we need to have to be, there's a problem there. We are behaving just like a kindergarten student who needs to have lots of paint and didactic material, a lot of toys to learn something. But the focus is not the object itself. It's not the toys themselves. The objective, the aim, the goal, it's abstract, is learning. So the point is, the focus is always the spirit, and that's what Jesus Christ wanted to tell us. But we always drag all those interests into our physical, earthly interests, and religion becomes what has become all over these years, all over these centuries. She continues, Men and women hurry and fro with the hope of acquiring earthly possessions, as if they would be able to keep them forever. Here, however, illusions disappear, and it is soon perceived that they had only been chasing shadows. Then it becomes apparent that the only really golden possessions, the only ones which can be made use of in their heavenly home, the only ones which can offer the possibility of entry, have been despised. Look, the screen had come to give us a brief account of what she had lived in the spirit realms. But through the astonishing mediumship of Chico Xavier, a spirit called André Luiz, a doctor, while in his earthly existence, has given us a rare and unpublished account of what happens to someone, like you and me, in the afterlife. You may ask me, why give so much credit to it? Well, my friend, these books may be coming, maybe something new for you, but they've been around in my country for nearly a century. They've been studied by very respected and renowned people, spiritists as well as non-spiritists. The medium who received them, Chico Xavier, is known by his amazing mediumship sharpness and accuracy. Besides that, by reading his books, you will understand in practice what the spirits say in Kardec's book, many times in theory. So let's listen to the wonderful speech by this doctor in the book Mastroleo, A Spiritual Home, as soon as he saw himself in the lower zones of spiritual life after his death. We quote, "Now that my life was over, I was like a hothouse, a greenhouse plant, unable to withstand the weather of eternal realities. I had not cultivated the divine seeds the Father of life had sown in my soul. They were choked by the weeds, by my insatiable desire for comfort and enjoyment. I had not trained my faculties for this new life. It was only right then that I should enter it like a cripple, thrown into the infinite river of eternity, unable to swim, or like a wretched beggar at the end of his strength, wandering about in the middle of a stormy desert. Oh, dear friends on earth, how many of you may still avoid the bitter road of sorrow by cultivating the inner fields of your heart? Light up your lamp before crossing the threshold of the shadows. Search for truth, lest the truth find you unprepared. Sweat and toil now, lest you weep afterwards." This kind of approach may turn the Spirit's doctrine so difficult before your eyes, my friend, but in truth, the highest spirits say that the price is low, very low compared to the kind of life they now live. And God is so merciful that gives us such a long time and countless chances to repent and get into the right pathway. Thank you so much, my friend.
The following partial recording is taken from the Spirits Book by Allan Kardec. Third Order Imperfect Spirits. Number 101. General characteristics. Predominance of matter over spirit, a propensity towards evil, ignorance, pride, selfishness, and all the evil passions that result from them. They have an intuition of God, but they do not comprehend God. Not all are essentially evil, however. Some are more frivolous, thoughtless, and malicious than downright wicked. Some do neither good nor evil, but the simple fact that they do no good reveals them to be imperfect. However, there are others who take pleasure in wickedness per se, and are gratified when they find an opportunity to practice it. Third order spirits can ally intelligence with wickedness or malice, but regardless of their intellectual development, their ideas lack elevation and their sentiments are more or less contemptible. Their knowledge about the things of the spirit world is limited, and the little they do know is confused with the ideas and prejudices of corporal life. They cannot give us more than faulty and incomplete ideas of that world, but the attentive observer may frequently find in their faulty communications great truths taught by the highly purified spirits. Their character is revealed by their language. Every spirit who betrays an evil thought in its communications can be placed into the third order. Consequently, every evil thought that may be suggested to us comes from a spirit of this order. They see the happiness of the good spirits, a sight that tortures them endlessly because they experience all the anguish that envy and jealousy can produce. They also retain the memory and perception of the sufferings of their corporal life, and this impression is often more painful than was the reality itself. Therefore, they indeed suffer from the wrongs they themselves endured and from those they caused others. And since they suffer from them for a very long time, they believe they will continue to suffer forever, a belief allowed by God as a punishment. We may divide these spirits into 5 principal classes. Number 102, 10th class, impure spirits. They are inclined towards evil and make it the object of all their preoccupations. As spirits, they give unscrupulous advice, incite discord and distrust, and use all sorts of disguises in order to deceive more effectively. They associate with individuals whose character is sufficiently weak to make them yield to their suggestions and to be led into misfortune, and they are pleased at being able to retard these individuals' progress by causing them to succumb in the trials they must undergo. In their manifestations, these spirits may be recognized by their language. Triviality and coarseness of expression among spirits, as among humans, is always indicative of moral, if not intellectual, inferiority. Their communications reveal the baseness of their inclinations, and if they try to fool us by speaking sensibly, they are unable to maintain the ruse for very long, and always end up betraying their origin. Certain cultures have transformed them into malevolent deities, while others have designated them as demons or evil spirits. During incarnation, they are inclined towards all the vices that are engendered by vile and degrading passions: sensuality, cruelty, deceit, hypocrisy, covetousness, and sordid greed. They do evil for the pure pleasure of it, most often without reason. Out of hatred for the good, they almost always choose their victims from among honest people. They are the true scourges of humanity, no matter what position they occupy, and no veneer of civility can even cover their dishonor and ignominy. Number 103, 9th class, frivolous spirits. These are ignorant, mischievous, thoughtless, and mocking spirits who meddle in everything and respond to every question with no concern for what is really true. They love causing petty annoyances and little thrills, creating intrigues and misleading people into error through deceit and mischief. To this class belong the spirits commonly designated by the names of hooligans, imps, gnomes, and pixies. They are under the subjection of higher order spirits who often use them as we use servants. In their communications with people, their language is often spirited and fastidious, but almost always without depth. They seize upon human oddities and absurdities, which they comment on with sarcasm and satire. If they take distinguished names, it is more out of mischievousness than wickedness. 104. 8th class, pseudo-learned spirits. The knowledge of these spirits is quite broad, but they think they know more than they actually do. Since they have made a certain amount of progress, in some sense, their language has a serious tone about it that can be deceptive as to their true abilities and enlightenment. However, such is frequently nothing more than a reflection of the prejudices and theoretical ideas they held during their earthly life. Their language contains a few truths mixed in with the most absurd errors, giving rise to the presumption, pride, envy, and stubbornness from which they have not been able to free themselves. Number 105, seventh class, neutral spirits. These are neither moral enough to do good nor bad enough to engage in wickedness. Rather, they vacillate between the two. They have not raised themselves above the ordinary human condition regarding either their moral qualities or their intelligence. They are attached to the things of this world and long for its coarse satisfactions. Number 106, sixth class, boisterous and disturbing spirits. Strictly speaking, these spirits do not form a distinct class as to their personal qualities, and they may belong to any of the third-order classes. They frequently make their presence known through perceptible and physical effects, such as raps, the movement and abnormal displacement of solid objects, the movement of the air, etc. They appear to be more attached to matter than the others, and they are the principal agents of instability in the globe's elements, whether by acting upon the atmosphere, the water, fire, and solid bodies, or in the entrails of the earth. One can recognize whenever such phenomena are not due to any fortuitous and physical cause, because there is an intentional and intelligent character about them. Although all spirits can produce these phenomena, higher order spirits usually leave them to subaltern ones, since they are more suitable for material rather than intelligent matters. Thus, when the higher order spirits deem that manifestations of this type are useful, they use these spirits as their agents.
Dear listener, today we had a challenge to talk about the Spiritist view on the practice of mediumship. We know it was a very important topic, and if you want more, deeper discussions, conversations, please send us your comment or question to Kardec Radio at the website kardecradio.com. We have a contact form, or you can send us by email kardecradio@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to assist you in your questions. Because after all, remember, we need to realize that our actions, our choices have consequences, and our conscience is there to double check what we're doing. There is no external judgment. The judgment is within, and we cannot run away from it. So to help us give a boost to this inner awareness, we're going to pray, and we're going to invite you to pray with us. In the Gospel According to Spiritism, last chapter, there are many, many prayers. There are prayers for mediums. Check it out. We're going to do a prayer of the heart right now. Let us raise our thoughts and feel the blessings that we're given without a charge, without a condition. Dear loving God, Creator, Sustainer of our lives, we rejoice today for the blessings of these teachings that clarify, illuminate, and inspire us. Would like to pray specially for mediums on the earth. May these vibrations reach out to their hearts, to their minds, giving them strength, protection, and especially discipline of the heart, and the courage to serve always without conditions. May they feel your loving presence, without which we don't even exist. May we serve you in the practice of mediumship. Would like to send a special prayer to the mediums who are not yet aware of the importance of understanding these laws of life and charge for the services, incurring in great karma for themselves. May they receive this invitation to a change of heart, and especially to put their mediumistic abilities to greater service without charging, without any form of material exchange, knowing that as we practice mediumship, we're giving back the much that you give us. Hoping for brighter days on the earth, when the ones who understand spirituality serve all the more. We thank you for these moments, for the resources you have given us. Thank you, dear Lord of life, for sending your messengers from the beyond, who tirelessly are helping us, inspiring us, guiding us to greater inner achievements. May we stay in your guidance, under your protection, as you grant us your permission to close this moment of reflection. And so be it. Dear listener, we have programs that are outstanding also coming along this month. Next week we have one specialist in childbirth. Sonny Carl is going to be here with us talking about the spiritual view on childbirth, something that is really inspiring. We need to know that birth is just much, much more than just a baby coming out. It's a spirit reincarnating, and the way in which we bring that spirit to life is also very important and so special. She's very sweet and kind, and she's going to be here with us at Kardec Radio, telling us much more. We have so many beautiful programs, and if you want some topic we haven't discussed or you'd like us to address again, please write to us at kardecradio@gmail.com. We'll be happy to address it. And also, if you want to win a t-shirt, Kardec Radio t-shirt, write to us. Send your email with your mailing address, your comment, your question, and we'll be happy to send it to you. After all, Kardec Radio is here to nourish your soul. We wish you lots of blessings. Thank you, dear listener.
Thank you for listening to Kardec Radio, broadcasting live every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Email us and share your comments at www.kardecradio.com. Until next time, we wish you many blessings.